Elliott, addiction specialist. Coming clean with me.
My name's Elliott Wald, addiction specialist, and welcome to Coming Clean with Me. And my special guest today is Ross Mack, DJ promoter. He runs his own events company. He's been clean for over 9 years from mind-altering drugs. Ross, thank you for coming here today. I appreciate you being in the studio with me. So
Thanks, mate.
let's kind of delve straight in. Tell the listeners about yourself, Ross.
Yeah, my name's Ross Mack. You kind of said what I do. I've DJ'd in clubs for over 30 years. So I started running events when I was 13, and I was in.
How old are you?
43.
Okay.
I know you can't believe it, right? And I was in proper clubs when I was 16 years old, to DJing in clubs, because it was a bit different back then. You were 16, I was in real clubs, and I've been doing that ever since, really. And I promote and I run my own parties as well. And then when I got clean, I started my own events company. So we do corporate stuff, we do weddings, we do yacht parties, I do stuff abroad,
Wow.
everywhere. So yeah, I'm really lucky. But I bring in, because I've been in the clubbing industry, I kind of bring that industry into the kind of, like the events, and people want to do proper parties. So I bring in all the guys that I work with for over the last 30 years that probably wouldn't do a lot of them kind of events, the DJs, the MCs that wouldn't really come into it, because, so we kind of bring a different element into it. So yeah.
So take me back to when you first started getting into your addictive patterns through drinking and through using coke. And what was that? How did that start for you?
I think for me it was when I was 5, because when I was 5 I was expelled from my infant school, and I was just crazy, and I was kicking teachers, and I was just really naughty, and for me that's when my journey started. I was young, and I remember my mum being down to school and she was always crying. She was like, "Why can't you stop?" And I'd be sat somewhere and I'd just walk out. So I used to walk out class, just go and sit in there outside, or go and sit in a field. And I just, my brain just took me away. So now I'm older and I look back and I'm clean. I look at it and think, bloody hell, that was like, when I'm sat down, like I'm irritable and discontent. I got ants in my pants, and so from an early age, for me, it was like that age where there was issues where I was just quite crazy, and I was put in a special school and stuff like that. And yeah, so for me,
I'm pleased how that turned out, because when you said it started at 5, I was thinking, fucking hell, he's in the back of the classroom racking it up.
Yeah, no, I didn't start drinking probably till like 11, 12.
Okay.
Like you all do at that age, and started using recreational drugs. I didn't start till I was about 16, because
You think that's late?
yeah, I know,
Late?
I know it's scary, but I thought it was quite. I didn't start, so I'm on that Zemo era, like the just say no era,
Yeah.
like, and I come from a really good background, a really like nice, normal, loving family, and we were brought up, drugs are wrong and all that kind of stuff. And he got to 16, and for me, it's just something that you do and you try. But I'm a really addictive of everything, so yeah, it's not a good thing for me. But so at 16, I was sort of DJing in clubs, so I had drink, drugs, and women at that age. I thought I'd arrived. I thought I'd made it.
Oh, I've made it in life.
Made it, yeah.
And, being in that scene of clubs when it's just everywhere, right? It's funny because I've interviewed other DJs. One of the DJs, I actually know that you know him, DJ Pat Wilson.
Yeah.
Nice guy, lovely guy. And he said, there were times when he got paid in drugs.
Yeah, well, I used to work for someone, and same. He would send him my money. He would just give me some, and then in the end, he didn't pay me because I owed him, so he just took my wages.
Oh wow! So hang on a minute. You're working and someone's paying you a gear, but then you're using so much gear that you got it on tick that you're not even getting paid to go and work.
Yeah. So you just turn up just to cover what you owe.
Yeah, I hear that story a lot, to be honest.
Yeah.
I remember I've got a client of mine who unpacks a lorry in a warehouse, and he works like 6 nights a week, and he works through the night, and he always picks up a full ticket, a full gram, every evening before he goes to work. It's like 100 quid, and he earns like 120 quid a night.
Yeah.
And it's like at the end of the week, after your tax, what the fuck you got left?
Yeah, I've heard that. A friend of mine, he took a night job on to pay, obviously, for whatever his lifestyle, but obviously where he was drinking and using, he weren't earning nothing because he was just sniffing it all.
Right. So it started off using at the clubs, and then it got to what level of usage? How frequently?
Well, it's like anything. You don't start off. you start off there, and so from 16, it just, I wouldn't even say when I started using it, like I wouldn't have said I'd arrived, but like I'm really addictive to everything that I do. So I never run before, and I started running, and I've done 3 miles. I remember doing like 6 miles, thinking, right, I'm never doing more than that. Then I do a half marathon, then I'm doing marathons. So everything I do is just obsessive. And I've done triathlons. I've done the London
Compulsive.
Triathlon. Just like, and so I've done the London Triathlon, and then I've cycled to Paris. And I always remember thinking, like, I'm really focused, like if I'm strong-willed, I can do something, but I know the drink and drug, I just no power over it. So, after that London Marathon, I was sat in a room on my own, sniffing gear in a hotel room, and at the triathlon, I actually took 2 grams of gear for the way home, you know what I mean? And
So hang on a minute. You spent all this time training for this triathlon, because I've got a client of mine who does ultra marathons and things like that.
It's on my first ultra this year.
Did you?
Yeah.
Well done for you. And you spend a lot of time, thinking about what you're eating, getting the right sleep, the right nutrition, letting your body rest, exercising, running, rehabilitating, and you're so fucking focused on this. And the moment you finish, your way of celebrating, actually, not even the moment you finish, because you've preempted this, because you've taken it in anticipation of using it. And the moment you finish, you're getting on it.
Yeah. So, I took a couple with me to the triathlon. The London Marathon, I finished and then went back to my hotel room and it, like, for me, it was always like, this is a treat, and I think people talk about it all the time. I've had a really hard day, I'm going to treat myself. I had a really good day, I'm going to treat myself. Yeah, and, I never thought, I'm going to get on it tonight, and I never didn't. Do you know what I mean? Like, and I always thought I made that decision. That decision was made for me. So, in a day, I think, I fancy I might get on it tonight, and I always did. What was your question? I've just bypassed it.
My question was, in the height, how often would you use?
Right. So I was explaining just how obsessive I am. So with everything, it's like I just take it to the bitter end. Early days, but up until I would say like the age of like 19, 20, like I started using on my own. So I was only a few years in.
So after only a couple of years, you've gone from social to antisocial.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love in a husky voice, by the way.
Thank you.
I know it's not on purpose.
It's not. That's dedication to being here, to helping people, to having them listen and helping them get over their addiction by taking same inspiration from these podcasts, from these shorts that help somebody out there, because that's what it's all about.
100%. So, so even, I was never a daily user, probably just because of the amounts that I use and because of,
You were a binger, is that what you meant?
Binger, yeah. So, first of all, it was like 1 day a week. Then
Yep.
it's like 2 days a week. Then it's like
Yep.
Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Yep.
Then it's like, Thursday, Friday, and then I remember using all weekend and thinking, get to the end and thinking, oh, thank God that's over,
Yeah.
and then I used like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, so I've used all weekend and I'm using Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So there was no Pacific.
Let me pick up on that.
Yeah.
Let's say it was going to be a Thursday, Friday, Saturday binge, right?
Yeah.
So what would you start with? Would you start with the quantity you're going to go through, or would you start with small quantity and then keep buying?
If I knew I was going for like that, I'd probably one of the guys I'd pick up 10 off of him, 10 grams, yeah, 10 grams,
10 full grams. Or
yeah.
10
So it was
tickets?
full grams because it was before all the point. It was kind of before
Okay.
like the point stuff come out. And all
Because
that
you're
sort of
old
stuff.
like me.
Yeah, and I remember people saying to me, "Oh no, this point stuff's really good because you don't have to use as much." But that makes a difference to me what the gear's like. Because I need to use, So I pick up 10.
So you're picking up £100 tickets. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, well, he's doing me a deal because I buy in 10.
Of course.
Yeah. So he'd buy me a deal. So it was 60 quid a gram back in them days. You know what I mean?
So you're lashing out £600 at the
Yeah.
very, very beginning.
Yeah.
Because I'm all in.
Yeah, I'm all in. Yeah, he done me a bit deal, so it was a bit less than that, but it was 10 grams. So I was buying it, and I thought, well, say we're going on a boys one, a couple of boys might want it, and you end up just doing it all.
So hang on.
You end up doing it all on your own.
So you go out with the idea of, I'm buying this to split between us. I'm buying this because you don't want to run out.
Well, sometimes, yeah, I would, like say if we go, if we're doing so, I'd start, going on a boys one. I think, in case the boys want a couple or something like that. But you'd end up just doing it all, and then I would end up. I had a guy that would deliver to me, and they used to put it from a letterbox, or So I would probably say over a couple of days, it'd probably like 15 grams.
Okay, so you've gone out on the Thursday with the boys.
Yeah.
You got your 10 tickets.
But I wouldn't have picked up 10 on a Thursday.
Okay, what would you pick
I would plan a run. Do you know what I mean? I'd plan a run. So I'd probably have a couple on a Thursday. Do you know what I mean? So, and then you'd get, one to go home because, I'd always make it into, we have a family business. I'd always make it into work. I was always in, no matter what.
So let me clear this for the listeners. So it's a Thursday night. You pick up a couple of tickets, right? You finish in the early hours. You drag yourself to work because it's a family business, right?
Yeah.
Then you finish on the Friday. Then what happens Friday evening?
Again, then I remember having that day, and I was driving home, and I'll be thinking, I don't want, thank God that's over. I can go home and sleep. And then you're driving around, and you're picking up and driving there on your way, thinking, I don't want to do this. Do you know what I mean? And I would be throwing up, and I'd need to go to the toilet and stuff like that. But I would plan my runs, so I would plan it where I'd keep it free, and like where I lived, like no one had a key to my house, and no one could get in, so there'd be no. I remember getting locked out once and having to kick my own door through because I couldn't have anyone disrupting what I was doing. I'd lock myself away.
So over the weekend, you're using it at home on your own.
That was my preference, yeah. As sad as that sounds, but that's my reality. Is I like a party for one. We call it like the lone wolf. That was my thing. Like if I was DJing on a Saturday, like I'd probably drive there. I'd probably have the odd drink, and often I wouldn't use. But then say if I was running an event, I'd take the door money, and that was where my run would go. I'd have a clear run, and I'd be like, cool, I've got this amount of money.
Okay.
I'd pick up, and then I would have, people dropping around throughout, from then, and then the next day I'd go, right through and stuff like that.
Okay, so that's what I mean. So what you're doing is you're getting the money, you're picking up a couple, and then you're having other people drop off during your session.
Yeah, but one thing I do, which I've never really spoke about this, one thing that I like to, after a couple of days, was sick as this sounds, but this is my reality. I would black out after a couple of days, and I would wake up again, and I would be boom, I'm back in the game. And obviously I'd have still gear, and I'd be off and running again. So I'd often, if I'd gone for a few days, by like Saturday, like Sunday morning, I would black out for a couple of hours, and I'd wake up, and I'd be like, my nose is clear. Do you know what I mean? But I used to use a lot in the bedroom. I used to use a lot in dark. I'd sit in the dark and
doing
sniff
what?
a lot, just sniffing in the dark.
On your own?
On my own, yeah. And I would.
What do you think you were getting from that?
Well, I was hiding, and because I'm hiding out just in case the MI5 are going to come for me, or like the police or whoever. Do you know what I mean? So I would hide out in my room, and I would use in the dark. And I used to live in the middle of nowhere, so it'd be like, I'd think I feel like I'm going to have a heart attack, right? So I feel like I'm going to have a heart attack, and I'm thinking, what shall I do? And I'm thinking, do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to have a line, because that's going to sort it out. So
that's going to help a lot, right?
So I'd go to have a line, and I'd go use. Then I'd hear someone coming down the corridor, or not down the corridor, but where I live out in the middle of nowhere. So I'd hear someone coming, so I'd freeze like a statue, and then I would wait 5 or 10 minutes. Then I realised,
you're just standing still, right?
Yeah,
and it's like this. You're just listening for every single sound.
Yeah,
and you're looking out the curtains from the distance to the lights, and you're not moving for that like minute or 2 minutes.
Yeah,
and then when you do start moving, you're like your foot's gently moving across the room.
Yeah, like a creature. And then I would realise I used to live in the middle of nowhere. It's 3 a.m. on a Tuesday night. There's no one outside. Do you know what I mean? It's all on my head, and that psychosis. And I've seen people digging up trees outside my house, watching little stick. Like after hallucinating after.
Because you got sleep deprivation.
Yeah.
And you're using.
Yeah.
And alcohol.
Yeah. And I would vodka. That was my drink. But yeah, anything in the end. But and I'll be honest with you, I just get really freaked out. I'd go and hide in my bathroom and use in there.
So you went from bedroom to paranoia in the bedroom to, once the paranoia was sufficient, to being in the bathroom.
Yeah.
So were you sitting in the bath or sitting on the toilet? What?
Do you want I used to sit in front of the door with my trousers around my ankles, watching the door. Then if you happen to break into my house or come round, I would say, Elliott, what are you doing? I'm on the toilet. And then it would give me a chance to, even though I've been up for 3 days, I live on my own, I live in the middle of nowhere, no one's coming around, but that's what I did. I'd just sit and watch the door, you know.
There's a scenario that's playing out in your head.
Yeah, it's all made up. And that's kind of been the story of my life, like, it's all made up. Do you know what I mean? We in recovery, we call it fancied or real. Do you know what I mean? Like, you might say to me, oh, Ross, close that door. And I'm like thinking, whoa, fuck, I'm like, what? Am I allowed to swear, yeah?
Yeah, I swear the fuck.
And I'm like, fucking hell, who's Elliott think he is? Why is he speaking to me like that? Because my perception of everything is wrong. You know what I mean? Why is Elliott being, like, so it fancy not real.
Do you want to know why you do that?
Because I'm crazy?
Well, no, I'm going to tell you why you do that.
Yeah.
So the whole time you're talking to me, and if people can watch this back and they zoom in on you, your eyes look up every time you think about an answer to a question. That means you're very visual. You're creating things in terms of images, right? So when you say to me, whether it's fantasy or whether it's reality, that's because in your brain you've already created this mini movie of what's going on.
Yeah.
That's why it's impacting you so much, because now your rationale while you're using has gone out the fucking window.
Yeah.
That's why it affected you so badly.
Yeah, I make up stuff that ain't even true. Do you know what I mean? And sometimes that happens today. I like to not... I like living like fantasy. I'm looking out the window, and if I'm sat over there, I want to be over here. And if I'm over here, I want to be there. And if I'm wearing my trainers, I want to be here and yours. I'd
what
always
size
be.
Are you?
I'm a 7 or a 6.
No, they ain't gonna fit me. I'm 10 and a
Depends
half.
what they are. Depends what.
These are fighters, trainers, UFC.
Are they?
Yeah.
I'll stick with my Pradas, thanks, mate.
Okay. So was it alcohol and then using the gear, or was it dry sniffing? What was it for you?
Yeah. So first of all, alcohol, but then in the end, I could dry sniff. Yeah.
Now this is the class.
Alcohol just takes the edge off.
So let me just get this clear. You started off using, and alcohol was your gateway to using, correct?
Yeah, we say like a gateway,
Yep.
but yeah, in the end,
And then in the end,
yeah,
you were a dry sniffer.
yeah, not like I would have a drink after just to kind of level
That's
myself
different. You're
off.
still a dry sniffer,
Yeah.
but you're using alcohol to level yourself off.
Yeah,
Right?
Yeah.
So you're a dry sniffer for all intensive purposes.
yeah,
But just using alcohol at the end.
yeah. So
That's your pattern.
drugs or alcohol, it's drugs first. If I was going to have to pick, gun to my head.
Okay. And did you structure this as it was only an evening, or would it be during the day?
Normally, again, it just depends on what I was doing. I would normally just go from the evening. So yeah, I would normally just, I wouldn't, because I get so twisted, like I can't really hide it. Do you know what I mean?
You're a gurner.
Yeah, I just get I
stutterer.
can't speak. Yeah, and I just get so twisted. So like we talk about in recovery, like that phenomenon of craving. Once I start, I can't stop. But for me, I get twisted before I'm going to go. I need to go to the toilet, and then yeah. So for me, that phenomenon starts. That obsession starts before I've even, and I get twisted. So that's.
So let me
where it
understand
starts.
this.
Yeah.
The fun for you was getting twisted, and then racking up more lines, and getting paranoia, and getting more twisted, and then racking up more lines.
Yeah, I mean that in my head I didn't plan it like that. It wasn't supposed to be like that. I had that first one, and
No one plans that.
yeah, but I don't know where I thought it'd be different every time. But I'd end up after 2 or 3 days, I'd be on my sofa and I'd be thinking, how have I got here? Where, like, how's this happened? Do you know what I mean? And I remember getting like one night thinking, I'm not going to pick up tonight because I'm skint, and then you want to run, you're off and you think, well, how did this happen? I'm skint, and yeah, it got, I wasn't one of them ones that wanted to kill myself, but I just, I'd had enough, and I didn't care if I lived or died, and I really, I hated myself more than anyone, but I hated people. I didn't realise it. Do you know what I mean? I didn't come in thinking, when I went to recovery, I didn't come in thinking, oh, I hate everyone. But actually, when I looked at everything, I just resented a lot of people and resented myself most, because I thought, if you ever put yourself in a situation that you can't get out of, I'm in a situation I'm thinking, I'm going to start from Monday, and the fear of I'm killing myself, I'm going to die, and I cannot stop, and I cannot tell no one. I can't tell anyone. I can't tell nobody.
What was the tipping point that made you decide that you needed to seek help?
There's a few. So I went into recovery at 30. So 2010, I went to my first meeting, and my dad and my brother, and I try not to talk about my family and bring them into podcasts, but I'm really respectful. It's my story, but they'd kind of got wind of it, and that wasn't the reason. I just wanted to change a little bit then.
But what was the tipping point? What was the very thing at the very end that made you go, I need help?
I don't know. I was just sick and tired of being sick and tired. When I went into recovery at 30 at 2010, I'd done a few meetings and I didn't come back for 4.5 years. And my using in them 4.5 years just got so dark.
Right.
All that weird stuff that I told you about earlier. That's when that really kicked in. At
Proper
the worst.
paranoia.
Yeah, and my wife is she's not the reason, but she's the main reason why I wanted to get clean. You know, me and my wife have known each other since we were kids, and we're family. You know, her family's like her family's my family, basically. It does sound a bit weird, but that's not. But we kind of met again when I was 34, and you know, you get clean for yourself, but she saved me, and anyone who knows her just knows she's the most amazing person I've ever met, and she was the main reason.
By you.
Yeah. You know when you're being really horrible to them because you want them to go, so you can carry on. And she never left. She got as far as the car park where we lived and never left me. And you know, I try not to get too emotional when I talk about her. And I'm a really emotional. Like I cry a lot. You know, I really feel stuff today. And yeah, she's like unbelievable. And
she's been your rock.
Amazing. Like just the most amazing person I've ever met, and it was like she just, you know, she tried to talk to me, and my dad said we tried to speak to you. You know, I was really aggressive. You know, I'm not a fighter, but I'll tell you how it is, Elliott. I'm one of them people. Do you know what I mean?
So
because I'm just scared.
You were taking a look at yourself, seeing your behaviour, seeing the people around you and how you were affecting them, and that made you decide to get some help.
Yeah, I didn't want to die. I didn't want to die, mate. I didn't want to die. I'd had enough.
And so what happened? You started to seek help, and then you had an awakening.
Yeah, it wasn't straight away. So I went back to recovery meetings. You know, I'm a 12-step man, but yeah. And probably when I got clean, I would have said 12 steps the only way, and I don't believe that now. There's lots of ways of getting clean. That's just how I got clean and what works for me.
I agree with that.
You know, and I really like what you do, and that's why we ever spoke, because I listened to your story and I liked it, and I thought, you know what, if I ever try and help people that don't want to help, I would send them your way and say, look, because I think everyone's different. Yeah, and that's just what worked for me. You know, total abstinence is my story.
Listen, I agree with. Here's my personal opinion. I think certain things work for certain people, and I think certain things aren't right for certain people. And if you find a way that's right for you, that's more power to you. You know, I had the person who was in my podcast previous to you has been through all of that, and he chooses to drink alcohol, a glass of wine with his dinner every now and then, and that works for him. You know, for some people the 12 steps work. For other people, they need another route. There's nothing wrong or right. Some people come and see me and have used the 12 steps as well. You know, I'm not here to say, don't do this, this is what you should do. I think we're in a world of individuals, and that's how you got to look at everything. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, I mean, I tried loads of things to stop using, and that's what worked for me. And I went into recovery at 34 and a half, and I'd met a guy there called Ian who I previously met when I was 30, so I met him 4.5 years earlier, and he was still there, and he was like, "You all right, mate?" And I'm like, "Well, not really. I'm back here." And I didn't say that to him. I thought it in my head. I was like, "Yeah, no, I'm
so
good,
you'd
mate.
been there previously?
Yeah, I'd been there in 2010. I'd gone back in 2014.
So 2010, it didn't fit with you?
I just wasn't ready.
Why not?
Because I still thought I knew everything. I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready beating the shit out of myself. Yeah, I just wasn't done. Do you know what I mean? And the levels, I hadn't got to the levels that I did when I stopped.
But
using.
when you went in 2010, you thought, excuse me, you thought you were ready to do it.
Yeah, well, I was just, maybe it's for the wrong reasons. And the first thing I heard was I have to never drink again. And I thought, well, I'm a fun drunk. I'm a fun nice
I'm
guy.
a geezer.
I'm a geezer, yeah. So that wasn't on my agenda to never drink again. You know, I just wanted to cut down. If I'm honest with you, I wanted to cut down and have the odd beer. And I spoke to someone recently about this, and you know, after not drinking for 9.5 years, like, I wouldn't want to drink, not because I don't want to feel that way. Even if I could have the odd beer, I'm just not interested. You know, this works for me. My life's amazing. I100%. And like, I work, because I think sometimes, because I run my own events company, so if the guys are working, I get all the drinks, and I look, you know, so I'm always at the bar buying a few beers, and so
that's really interesting. Can I just pick up on that?
People think I'm drinking. I think I don't know.
Does that give you pleasure buying them drinks?
It doesn't bother me.
No, does it give you pleasure?
It doesn't. I don't look at either
I'm
way.
going to tell you why I say that.
Yeah.
So for many years I competed as a bodybuilder, and when you compete as a bodybuilder, it's a very selfish sport. You have to diet down for 12 weeks. You get to like 3-4% body fats. You stand on stage in your budgie smugglers. Everyone looks at you. You know, it's a time of my life back in the day. And it was funny, when you're on this very restricted eating plan where it's like boiled chicken, boiled rice, tuna, it's like plain. And I couldn't eat any chocolate, right? And I couldn't eat any sweets. But I used to buy it for the people around me. Somehow it made me feel good to buy them chocolate, even though I couldn't fucking eat it. So that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
when you bought them drinks, did it make you feel good because you weren't drinking?
Yeah, I just think it's because I look after the, like, it sounds like, but you know, like, all, you know, so I book like bongo guys, sax guys, singers. So because it's my company and they're working for me, I want to make sure they're okay. Do you want a drink? Do you want something? You know, so I'm just.
You're the host.
Yeah. So if I'm not DJing, I'll have another guy that works for me, or, you know, various DJs and stuff. So I just make sure my staff are all right. So you want a couple of beers, I go to the bar and get a couple of beers. You know, so yeah, I just kind of that's just kind of my, you know, because if I'm running an event as well, they don't like to go and get drinks, so I just get them for them. But it doesn't. I don't look at it either way. You know, I wouldn't rack some up a line of gear. You know, I certainly wouldn't do it. But you know, buying your drink that doesn't. I don't think
the
about
difference.
it.
What's the difference?
I don't know. I suppose because Coke is probably maybe because that's probably more my thing. But yeah, I don't.
So hang on, let me get this clear.
Yeah, go on.
You would go and buy a friend a pint or a vodka or whatever, without question, right?
Yeah.
But you wouldn't rack them up a line.
Fuck no.
Come on, why?
No, I just wouldn't. Like, I've seen Coke a couple of times since I've been clean. Like, I've walked in somewhere and it's been on the side and that. And
what'd you do?
really, really early on, do you want to know what I did really on? I fucking cried my eyes out. I cried my eyes out early on. I remember I was 3 or 6 months clean. I walked into a toilet. I was working at a club, and I really early on, and someone pulled out a bag of gear, and do you want a bit? And yeah, I fucking cried. I cried. So I keep swearing, but I did. I cried. And my wife was there, and I had a bit of a cry because I spent all day not wanting to do something, and then someone pulls out the devil and showed it to me, and I cried. You know, but you know, this further down the line, I'm just a bit like, yeah, it's not something I want to see. You know, like we say in recovery, like I report from it like a hot flame. Like if I can see it, I'll be like, not for me. Which for someone who absolutely loves that stuff and would sniff, you know, it's a miracle.
But alcohol doesn't make you feel that way.
It's a miracle. No, it doesn't. But sometimes I look at a beer and think, oh, that looks nice. You know, we go for the curry with the boys, and I think, oh, that looks really nice. But it's just not for me.
I think it's a really, really interesting point to make because it's like, let's use a building site, because I did this in a video, right? Use a building site, and the bricklayer, there's like a team of bricklayers on site, and the bricklayer there is like 2 o'clock in the afternoon, he's like, you know, fuck it, I'll rack up a quick cheeky little line, you know, carry on working, and he offers his mate next thing on the line, yeah, right. But if he was there with a bottle of whiskey at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, people would be going like, the fuck is that geezer drinking at 2 o'clock in the afternoon?
Yeah.
But you're the other way round.
Yeah. Well, he's getting in his car and driving. What's he doing? What a maniac. Do you know what I mean? But like you're saying, if they're doing gear, but it just, I don't know. I guess I'm really lucky. A lot of my friends in recovery, I think they hide out a bit. And I don't get me wrong. Like I wouldn't go to a club every weekend. We was out last weekend. Me and my wife was in a club and we left at 2 and I had a really good night. But generally that stuff does bore me. You know, if it's someone's birthday, I'll get there at 8, I'll leave at 11. I've had a really good night, you know, and I heard something really funny recently saying that nothing good happens after 2 a.m. Well, I think actually probably nothing really good happens after 12 p.m. because I think
nothing good happens after 8 p.m.
Yeah, because it's nice. Like, I went on a golf trip recently and don't get me wrong, it's lovely. People say it's really nice to hear people say lovely things. But when they're off their nut and they're chewing your ear off, I'm just like, this ain't for me. You know, this just ain't, you know, it's nice to see everyone and then I bounce and
Fair
I'm
enough.
done.
Tell me how your usage affected your family dynamics.
I don't 100% know. Obviously, my wife, I do. And, you know, she doesn't often listen to a lot of my stuff. The last podcast I did, I really wanted to listen because I really bigged her up and I wanted her to, you know, sort that, you know, look how amazing I'm doing. But she's like, do you know what? I live that stuff. I don't want to hear it. And I remember really when I got really early on, and you know, like we call it, I don't like to say the word sponsorship, but that's what it is, you know. And I was just we'd like to say, I prefer to say helping someone. I was helping someone. We met his wife, and my wife said to her, "Oh, he's doing amazing, isn't she?" And she was like, "Yeah." And people say that to my wife, but it's like, it's different when I'm further on, but she's like, looked at my wife to say, yeah, but I've had all the carnage last 20 years, so it's great. So like when you get clean, everyone's like, oh, is Ross doing amazing? But it's actually the carnage that you cause, you know, and we can't.
Takes a long time to build those bridges.
100%, yeah, and it's yeah, it does. I mean, you know, it's been I'm 9 years last month, so it's been a while. So you know, I feel like and it's at a stage where everyone knows I don't drink. You know, I don't get offered drinks anymore, and which is fine. It doesn't bother me, but people don't. They know me. It's, you know, it's been a while, sort of thing. But yeah, do you know what was the question? My brain,
I was so
sorry. My brain
I was
so
absorbed in what you're saying.
100 miles an hour.
I actually fucking forgot what the question was, but I think it was, how did it affect your family dynamics?
Right. Sorry. Yeah. So I got tested for ADHD when it wasn't a thing when I was a kid, but when I was using, and I had a test recently, and like you know, ticking all the boxes, which is fine. And for me, like, I'm not big on medication. I've done that enough, but just for me, it's about being aware. So that's what. So yeah, my brain is 100 miles an hour. That's why sometimes I keep forgetting and keep talking a lot. But the family dynamics. So I don't know. So my dad said to me, like, you know, we you know what I done. So we're doing a men's process, and he said to me, yeah, we knew what you were doing. I mean, they don't know, and I've always said to them, look, you can't, because I've done a few podcasts, and I've said, look, you don't need to listen. They don't need to know the dark stuff that we spoke about. All they need to know is that I used to use, I was in a bad place, and my mum read something recently online about me, and it freaked her out. And this thing wasn't even bad, and I was just like, they don't need to know the dark stuff. They don't need to know. That. You know, they don't need to know the stuff that we've spoke about.
Yeah.
That, you know, because it's, you know.
But sometimes you need to shine that light on it for you.
I do, yeah, but it's for the guy who's listening, who's probably listening to sniffing gear, thinking I do that. You know what I mean? And I get messages every day from people.
Yeah.
Because of you know, because of my job, and because because I get to do this stuff, and people are like, how do you go to them venues? And I think that I don't get it. I just know that I do, but I know that, you know, if I put my recovery first, which I do, and I'm really blessed, and you know, since I got clean, I played more places than I did when I was using. You know, I thought when I started DJing, I thought I might have to stop DJing because
you might need to get out of the industry.
Yeah, because I remember I was 5 days clean, and I was running an event at a club, and I was thinking, what am I doing here? I shouldn't be here. But my recovery shows if I put this stuff first, I can do anything. And I guess that maybe that's what's appealing to people, that are still, you know, I've been to space closing parties.
But I think there's a bit of a difference though that people should think about. One was it's your occupation, as opposed to your social choice. And I think what they misconstrue is, can I still go to the nightclub, not drink and not use? Yeah, you can, but you're there working. You're preoccupied with things that are going on. They're there with a mindset to party because they're going with their friends to party.
Yeah.
And I think they've got to keep a little bit of a distinction between that, because here's something I say, Ross. If you sit in a barber's long enough, you're more likely to get your hair cut. If you're the barber in the barbers, you're less likely to get your hair cut.
Yeah, and I do agree with that, and I got told that a lot early in recovery, and I do agree with that. I wouldn't put, like, we went out last weekend because we was in Manchester, it was an engagement, went to a club, and I had a really good night, and you know, we left. But yeah, I wouldn't do that every weekend. You know, like I said, I've been to space closing party, but I don't do that all the time. But I would encourage anyone new in recovery, like, just get out there and see what it's about. Don't
At what point?
I would maybe say 6 months, and there's two things in what you said. Sorry, the soothing of what you said. So first of all, I remember I was speaking to a guy. He went, I went out and was sober once. He went, I had a really boring night. I said, who was you with? He said, a load of people using. I said, well, that's different. I said, you know, if you go out to a nightclub, everyone's using, you're going to feel bored. Like, I would feel bored.
You're not on their wavelength.
100%. So that's if you want to do that, maybe go to a sober party early on. And I've taken my wife to sober parties. She loves them because everyone gets there. And for us, it's like, so, you know, when I run an event, normally, like, the start, people have a, you know, drink and a chat. You know, we call it the warm up. You know, so people have a drink and have a chat. The sober stuff, there's none of that. Bang, they go straight in and they're dancing, and they're just kind of like, oh, we're free and we're out, and that's a better environment to be. You know, my old sponsor, he works at Glastonbury, and you know, he does festivals all summer, and yeah.
So how long?
He's a maniac.
Let's get back to the question.
Yeah.
How long do you recommend?
Right.
Somebody puts themselves in that environment.
I would say 6 months, but I would just say, and because people talk about it all the time to me, and I'd say, well, look, maybe, you know, 6 months in, go, right, go out to your mate Elliott and say, look, your mate Elliott, look,
He's sexy.
I'm coming out tonight, sexy.
I'm not coming out. I'm you know,
Yeah.
I'm straight.
He's already out. He say to my mate Elliott, look, I'm going to come out of you tonight, just so you know, I'm going to pop out a couple of hours. So you have a mate there, Elliott, who's going to keep an eye on you, and, you know, he's a good pal. You know, he's not going to be one of them mates that, because you get mates that go, oh, you just have one with me, you'll be all right.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, just me.
Oh, and it's just Friday. Go on,
Yeah.
mate, just have I'll get you a drink in.
Yeah.
And come to the toilet. I'll rack your little one up.
Exactly, yeah, just be a small one. So get your mate like Elliott, who you're going to say to him, I'm going to come, and just do a couple of hours. And I'll tell you what, when you leave that place, you go home, you'll feel like Superman. You know, when I've come back from my Ibiza and I'm at the airport, you know, I feel I'm like, this is what it's about. Everyone's dying around you. But yeah, I would just say, you know, everyone's different. But I would just say, like, you know, I spoke with Pat, obviously, you know, I've known Pat a long time, and we spoke a lot about that.
DJ Pat Wilson.
Pat Wilson, yeah. And, you know, I'll just say get back into it. And I try and speak to a lot of DJs and stuff like that, and the clubbers.
I do think it's slightly different for you, though, because, you know, you say, you know, when you said to me, I went out with, not you, but when somebody said to you, they went out with people and they had a really boring time, and you said to them, did the other people use? And you said, yes. Well, that's why you had a boring time, because you're not on the same wavelength, which I completely agree. But I think for a lot of people who go out, they go out with those people who used to use. Now to suddenly find a new group of people, that's not always as easy. Whereas for you, you're going for a working environment.
Yeah. I'm lucky because, you know, there was a lot. So, like, they say, oh, you need to get all new friends. Like, I still do everything that I used to do, obviously, like a million times more. You know, I worked for a festival as well, you know, so I carried, you know, but I didn't, there were certain people in my life that I was like, Dave, I love him, but I have to love him from afar because he's just not, Dave's on a different journey. You know, I'm not judging Dave, but Dave was someone I would love to have been with, but not anymore. So me and Dave are still cool, but I'm just doing a different thing. And I stayed, you know, I've got a really good group of friends around me, and I still stay with them friends. And yeah, nothing really changed for me.
But that group of friends you have around you now, they don't use gear, or do they?
Yeah, most people I know take drugs.
Okay, so
most people.
You're going to go. You go out with people. Let's forget your work for a moment.
Yeah.
You go out with people on a sexual level.
Yeah.
And they're using around you.
Yeah.
And you're cool with that.
Yeah. They're respectful to a degree. Like, they're not like, but yeah.
What? A bag in and 5 pints in. How respectful are they?
Well, that's where my time is to go. So
Okay.
I've had a really good night. And I know, and if we go for dinner, and I'll go, you know, and I'll stay, and I get to a point where I go, I'm done, and
And they're chatting shit that you don't listen to.
Yeah, and I've been there, and I've had a good night, and that's fine. I'm happy with that.
So basically, what you're saying to me is this: here's what you recommend for people: 6 months. 6 months, change your environment. Don't do that. Don't go there. But after 6 months, if you feel strong enough, you can put yourself back in that environment. But put a filter, a time, something in there that says to you, I recognise when I should leave. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's what I would recommend. But you know, everyone's different. But I would just say, because I didn't get clean to like to not go out and not, because I weren't doing, because I remember when I stopped using, like I thought, what am I going to do? Like, everything revolves around drink and drugs. Like, if we turn up for a business meeting today and I'd have said, oh, I've got a bit of gear, you know, it's normal to get on it, which it shouldn't be, right?
Yeah.
But that's society. And like I said, when everyone I know uses, it's society. We've made it like okay to drink and use. And so when you say I don't drink, people go, oh, what's wrong with you? It's nothing, you know, but we've made it society, you know.
It is.
If alcohol was brought out now, it wouldn't be legal, you know, but we've made it, you know, made it society. But I do everything I used to do. I just don't engage in that stuff, you know. And I thought when I stopped drinking, I thought my life was over. But actually, I've achieved and done a million more things that I never would have done, never would have done, and I didn't think it was possible, you know. And you know, we talk about mental health and stuff like that, and you know. And people don't like it when I say this, but I always say to people, look, give yourself 3 months, 6 months. If your mental health's bad, first things fall, look at what you do. You know, people are saying, oh, my mental, you know, I'm sniffing gear. I'm not judging because I've been there, but I would say if you're struggling around that stuff, give yourself a chance. You know, like, because you're either off your nut or you want to come down. There's no middle ground.
All they're doing is masking the problem.
Yeah.
And then they feel bad about the problem, even worse, and then they mask the problem even more.
Yeah.
So here's my question to you. Because there was a point when you used and when you drank to escape from life's problems.
Yeah.
Right? So now when the shit hits the fan, because there are things that happen in life,
Yeah.
how do you deal with them?
So lots of ways. That the last few years of my recovery have been the hardest. I've lost some really close friends. The first 5 years wasn't like that. And how do I deal with things? Well, I go to meetings and I help people and I talk to people. You know, I go gym 5 days, mornings a week. I run. I'm with nature a lot.
Naked?
Naked? No, not naked.
Okay.
But you know, I'm out in nature. You know, I'll go running and take the dog for a walk. You know, I try and so there's loads of things that you can do. So I just try and live differently. You know, I talk to people. I have a sponsor. I'm going back through the steps. So obviously I'm 12-step based, and I've been through the steps sort of 3 or 4 times, and I'm just getting a new experience. I'm going through with a friend of mine, and it is really enlightening in the moment. So that's been something. I'm ongoing with what I do.
So something happens today.
Yeah.
The shit hits the fan.
Yeah.
What do you do today? Because what I'm looking for is a little bit of advice for the listener who suddenly wakes up, didn't see it coming, something sideswipes them, and they have a shit day for any particular reason. What do you do to address that?
Well, the news flashes is going to happen. It's going to happen, right, when you get clean the world, don't you? You know, I speak to my sponsor. Okay. So, and I have a little team of people around me that I talk to, that I share my stuff with.
Okay.
So you know, like when I was doing all the weird stuff that I was doing,
Yep.
you know, like even my friends were just a bit like, do you know what I mean? Like I've shared stuff with people before a little bit, and they've looked at me and they've gone, "Whoa," you know. So when I got into recovery, I got around with a load of maniacs that do what I do. So they're the people I roll with, the sober people, and they're the ones I speak to. Because for instance, say if we had a row today, like me and you, and whatever happened, and I rung one of my pals, I'll be like, "Oh, do you know what? I had a row with that Elliott, and he did this, and don't worry, I said that to Elliott." My pal will go, "Do you know what? Good for you, Ross. You done well. You let Elliott have it." If I rung someone in recovery, they'd say, "Right, I don't care what Elliott done. What's your part, Ross?" And I have to look at how I control myself and how I conduct myself. It doesn't matter what you do, and that's how I live today. Whereas before, it would have been your fault. But you know, does that make sense? So
I call that the pound coin.
What's that?
You want to know why?
Yeah.
I call that the pound coin.
Yeah.
Now you're thinking, and everyone listening is thinking, what the fuck is the pound coin? Actually, it might be the £2 coin, because now I'm confusing myself. But it's either the pound coin or the £2 coin. Because around the side of it, and I'm sure it's the pound coin, it says, standing on the shoulders of giants.
Yeah.
So it says around a pound coin or a £2 coin. You ever noticed that?
No.
No, it does. Each letter is around the coin. It says standing on the shoulders of giants, and that's what you do.
What does that mean?
That means this. When you have a problem, you have a team of giants that you phone or that you can speak to who give you advice, and you stand on their shoulders and you listen to them and you go, that's picked me up. I'm standing on the shoulders of giants. That's picked me up. That's helped me. That's what you do.
Yeah. Well, another thing we do as well is just to write it down as well. So they you know, the most powerful, you know, is the pen or whatever the saying is.
Yeah.
And it's like, so I would say me and you had a row. So I would get home and I'd write it down. I wouldn't necessarily need to ring my sponsor, look at it and think, "Cool," you know what I mean? I would write it down and I would see my bit in it, and I'd ring and get, "Elliott, do you know what? I'm really sorry about that." And you might go, "Oh, do you know what, Ross, you're still a knob. That's fine, Elliott. I just need to apologise about what happened." And then I can't. Look, I just need to let you know how I acted was wrong. And then because what would happen is if I hadn't written it down, done that amends process, I'll be assessing about it every time I see Elliott. I
agree with you.
And every time I hear someone whose name is Elliott, I'll be thinking, "Oh, I don't like that geezer because he reminds me of the other Elliott." You know, and so for me, it's about living in. I didn't just wake up. People say, "Oh, did you just wake up?" It's like I just went, "Do you know what? I'm not going to ever drink again." You know, I didn't wake up and think that. I've had to go through a process. I've had to look at how I deal and how I treat people and how I treat myself and how I act. So acting the way I used to doesn't serve me right, so I have to act in a different way. And this is all stuff that I've learnt and I've got clean. I'm not a saint. I don't walk around, but I just try and be a better person, and I just try and help people, and that's how I live. Like I believe we're put on this earth to help each other. I was like, why are we here?
It's a good question.
But that's not how I've always. That's not how I've always
Listen,
thought about it.
You've opened your eyes and you've seen things in a different way. That's led you down a different path. That's worked for you. When you say, something bothers me, I write it down. I do that with Facebook. It's a funny thing. I do this. If something really pisses me off, I write a post and then I delete it before I post it.
Yeah.
And just somehow, sometimes I post it and then go, oh fuck, and then I've deleted it. But like in a split second. But somehow I get what you're saying. That kind of gives you a release. Sometimes it just vents my frustration. I put it out there in the world.
Yeah.
And I feel fucking better.
Yeah. Yeah, writing it down is a really big thing, writing a journal, then, again, these are just tools that I've learned.
I don't like to write in a journal because I always think one day someone might use it against me.
Well, I use an app actually, but I'm going back for the steps, and it's important to write it down, and that's just writing it, and I look and I write, and it, when you go through this process, you look and you think, bloody hell, I was wrong. I do affirmations. I talk to the universe. I'm big on that. I've got a vision board, and again, this is stuff just further down the line of where I'm at in recovery, and I just want to kind of be better. And I've made loads of mistakes, and I've tried loads of new stuff. I'm really open to trying new things, which is not always how I brought up. But I go out there and I just try and learn, and I just try and be better, because I know it really helps me. I know I'm a different person that walked in 9+ years ago into recovery.
You continually grow. Ross, it's been a complete pleasure to have you here. But before we go, I've got one last question, which I always ask my guest, and this is for the listener at home who's struggling, right?
Yeah.
What advice would you give to someone who's struggling with getting off the packet right now, or listening to this? Someone with an addiction that's struggling. What advice would you give them?
Yeah, there's loads of things you can do.
Make it concise.
I would get yourself to a recovery meeting, a 12-step meeting.
That's one. You got 3 points.
I would ring Elliott.
2 points.
I definitely would do that.
Last point.
Other than that, I would just get to a meeting. I would try and get
That's
around.
one.
I would get around
See
people.
me, 2. Next one.
I'll just take it a day at a time.
Take it a day at a time.
That's how I live my life.
Ross is 3 points. I love that.
I got a question for you.
Go for it.
Why have you had your headphones on the whole time and I haven't? I've just realised that.
I thought that earlier on, but I didn't take as much time and effort with my hair as you.
Maybe that's why. I'm like, why am I not wearing?
I don't know, but I did think that earlier on. I was thinking, well, maybe he's like been to the hairdressers, been to the barbers before he came to see Elliott, like making himself look trim and slim and beautiful. But you look handsome. Listen, Ross, it's been my pleasure.
Elliott, it's been really nice to meet you, and I just want to say I really like what you're doing, and I really, like I say, I think it's amazing. I think, we both do different things, but I think we're both on the journey where we're just trying to make a difference, and I think that's really important.
Appreciate that, Ross.
But yeah, I really, really admire you. Thanks, mate.
Thank you. Pleasure for having you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Thank you.